Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. So back in the 1990s, I got offered a job to be a roadie for the Oak Ridge Boys, the famous band, the gospel quartet or country music quartet. They were mostly country music, but they have gospel roots and did some gospel songs. They were super popular in the 1980s with songs like Bobby Sue, Come On In, and Elvira. Who could forget Boom Bappa Mau Mau? They were so popular in the 80s, and I actually got offered to be a roadie with the band, and I probably would have been more of a gopher than a roadie because I didn't have like experience helping set up concerts, and doing whatever roadies do. I'm sure they just would have said, hey, go get us some food, go do this, go do that. And they offered me this job to go on the road with them. And I'll get to that in just a little bit. If you are new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. It is super helpful. And comment below that you have done so. I'd like to meet you, interact with you guys here on YouTube. I'd really appreciate that. So back in the 90s, I worked at Walden Books. This was after my stint as a comic book store owner with my brother-in-law. And after we had 2 stores in the Fort Worth area. And after I sold my share of the stores to him, I took a couple of months off, and then I got a job at Walden Books at the Northeast Mall, local mall here. And obviously it's local. I'm not gonna drive super far for a job like this. It didn't pay a ton, but I loved working around books because I love to read. I love books in general. I love to collect books, and it was just a fun job. Now, I was a receiving clerk. I worked in the back room. When shipments would come in, I would scan the books in, and then I would take them out and shelve them. I also worked on the register. But the coolest part of the job was they would have celebrities in pretty frequently to autograph books. Celebrities would do these book tours, and they would come to Walden Books, and they would set up and autograph and meet fans and do all this kind of stuff, photo ops, autographs. And my job, which was really, really cool, was to stand by the celebrity and hand them the books that the customers would bring, to attend to the celebrity's needs, if they needed a bottle of water, or if they needed just to get up and stretch, or just whatever, or if a customer was bugging them, or if I needed to move the customer along to keep the line going. And if it got slow, like it would from time to time, to keep the celebrity company, just to talk to them, make small talk, or just just hang out, make sure they didn't get bored. This was great. I met a lot of really cool celebrities. I got to hang out with Waylon Jennings and Jesse Coulter. Richard Simmons was a crazy autographing, funny guy. Terry Brooks, the fantasy novelist. And I spent 2 hours with Charlton Heston one time, just hanging out, talking movies. I will do that in another video, but right now I'm talking about the Oak Ridge Boys. Now, Joe Bonsall, the tenor in their band, he came to Walden Books to autograph one of his children's books starring Molly the cat. Joe Bonsall, in addition to being a country and western musician, he's an author. He's done around a dozen books or so. Back in the 90s, he was promoting his children's books. And so it was around 97 or 98, and he came in. I didn't think a whole lot of it. I had grown up listening to the Oak Ridge Boys, so I thought it'd be cool to meet him and everything. And, I said, hey, just typical. I told him I was a fan of the band, but I didn't get his autograph. And I didn't get a picture with him, and I'm I wish I would have now. Back in the 90s, I never could have predicted a future where I would need these photos for evidence or proof or anything, or I would be doing videos or posting on social media. And I was just doing my job. I felt, I didn't want to fan out completely, and I didn't want to bug him. I just was doing my job. And it was neat meeting him. He's pretty famous, and the Oak Ridge Boys were huge. And so we talked a little bit at first, and there was a bit of a line. Well, it would get slow because, this is a children's book, and Joe Bonsall is not exactly a household name, so there were gaps where we could just talk. But we hit it off immediately. It was strange. We were talking books and music and movies, and then we got to start talking about Stephen King, one of my favorite authors, one of Joe's favorite authors, and we got, after 2 hours, after a while, we were just laughing and just cutting up and just really, we hit it off. It was just like an instant bromance. It was so much fun. He was super cool, and just for whatever reason, we had this rapport going, and we were cracking each other up and talking about, we liked a lot of the same music, a lot of the same movies, a lot of the same books, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. Well, he stayed a little over 2 hours, and towards the end of the gig here, towards the end of the autographing, he said, "Hey, you seem like a really cool guy. You should go out on the road with us. You could be a roadie. You could, you know, just go get us stuff, whatever we needed. You could, you know, do these, just basically be a gopher. If we needed something to eat or needed just some chore, one of the band members needed something to be done. If there was some problem on the road, or maybe during concerts, work in the backstage, whatever, anything, you know." When bands go on tour, they need all kinds of people to facilitate this thing. And he offered me a job, and he was dead serious because we just got along super well after a couple of hours. You could just tell we just simpatico somehow. And it was awesome. Really, really cool guy, really nice guy. But I had to turn him down because I had a pregnant wife at home. Hello, Crease. And I had a baby, Ryan. And Katie would be coming along in a few months. Crease was very pregnant. And so I had to turn Joe Bonsall down to go on the road with the Oak Ridge Boys. Now, if I hadn't been married at the time, and I was glad to make the sacrifice. I mean, I'm definitely a family man. I love my wife and family very dearly. I love my kids. So it was an easy decision. I wasn't like, should I go on the road with the Oak Ridge Boys and just throw away my family? It wasn't that thing at all. It's just the idea of being offered it was so cool and so intriguing and so flattering. Thank you, Joe, for that. Now, I did reach out to Joe Bonsall on Twitter to see if he remembered this. And he remembered, obviously, doing the book tours and signing those books and doing all that thing, but he did not apparently remember the specific instance of talking to me and offering me this job, because he didn't reply to that directly. He just said, you know, basically, those were fun times or whatever. And anyway, I'm not super surprised. You know, a big famous star like that with a world famous band like the Oak Ridge Boys, he's not going to remember, you know, all these different encounters. You know, he met thousands and thousands of people. But I have thought over the years, wow, that was so cool. What would it have been like to go on tour with the Oak Ridge Boys? Now, they were a country western band, and they were pretty clean cut. And, you know, I mean, well, they do have a guy with a really long hair. Maybe not clean cut is not the best word, because in the 70s, they had some pretty crazy hair. You know, Joe had the big afro. What I meant is they didn't seem like the wildest band, and they did have gospel roots and did gospel songs. So maybe their road tours weren't super wild, although I bet they did have their share of fun. But it wouldn't be like going out with Motley Crue and Ozzy or something. But I bet it would have been a heck of a lot of fun and a really interesting adventure, traveling all over the world and hanging out with musicians and famous people and everything. And who knows what trouble and fun I could have had on that. But hey, I was a family man, had the family already. But if this would have happened a few years earlier, before I'd met Carice, and maybe when I was ready to sell my share of the comic book store, or before the comic book stores, or whatever. If I was just in my late teens or early 20s and just kind of still figuring out what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do with my life, I was still making decisions. I'd gone to college part-time, you know, just still trying to figure it out. You know, I was young. I probably would have taken them up on it, because I have a little bit of a wild streak in me and a little bit of adventurism, and I think adventurousness, however you want to say it. I think that would have been a ton of fun. So thank you, Joe Bonsall, even though if you don't remember this specific day, for offering me a job as a roadie, more like probably just more of an errand boy or a gopher, because I don't know a ton about the technical aspects of music or setting up concerts or any kind of, you know, I know they have people they hire to hook up their instruments and do the wiring and lighting. I don't know that kind of stuff, but I'm sure I could have just been a gopher to do, you know, just grunt work. But that would have been a ton of fun. It's awesome to think about. So in a future video, I am going to talk about meeting Charlton Heston and hanging out with him for a couple of hours while I handed him books at Walden Books. And I asked him a specific question about, see, he was promoting a book about the Bible that he had written. And I asked him a couple of questions about it, like if I thought, a really interesting question about Noah's Ark and if it was supposed to be taken literally. And he gave me an interesting answer. He kind of sidestepped a little bit, but I will do that in a future video, hopefully within a month or so. All right, guys, thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments any celebrity encounters you've ever had, or if you've ever worked for a celebrity, or anything interesting that happened to you when you met a celebrity. I would appreciate that. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, and I will talk to you guys in another video.